right there. That's telling me that the person that deposited this, or the item that deposited there, was there for a bit of time to deposit all of that and then create what we see here called these satellite spatters, where blood is dripping into blood and then coming out of the main pool of blood and then in 360 degrees and spattering around so that person is still there, is motionless there for a period of time to
possibly
create that stain.
Held or carried out, maybe wrapped in something,
standing or being held. Yeah. You know, the FBI visited this scene twice, and the locals visited first, and then the FBI came in and visited it twice in two separate days.
I slowed it up and I'll let it play as it's going. Just let the audience.
We're looking at a series of 90-degree blood drops that are basically it's falling straight down onto the tiled surfaces here, and it's suggesting an object that had blood on it or a injury from a wound, an open wound that was letting blood out, was depositing blood on these surfaces with no force greater than gravity. And that this was slow movement in this area, staggered movement around there. Now you can see over here where you have these right there. That's telling me that the person that deposited this, or the item that deposited there, was there for a bit of time to deposit all of that and then create what we see here called these satellite spatters, where blood is dripping into blood and then coming out of the main pool of blood and then in 360 degrees and spattering around so that person is still there, is motionless there they're there for a period of time to drop that amount of blood there. So it's like someone was like maybe holding the victim there, waiting for something, or, and the victim was bleeding there. And then they slowly moved towards the front, and you're trying to look also to see if you could see any directionality in the blood drops by the spines around the drops. Now, again, could this be aspirated or blood? Yes, it could be.
Or a sneezing, is that what you're meaning?
Coughing, sneezing, or spitting, right? But there's also blood dripping into blood here. Okay, right. So that creates what we call these satellite spatters in 360 degrees. Now, if she did spit this out of her mouth or something like that, then there'll be amylase and saliva commingled with the blood, and that should, if you swabbed it, the analyst should be able to find that very easily. Probably. Is it considered a lot of blood? Not really. It's not considered a lot of blood. Lip bleeds, nose bleeds. They can bleed a lot, but she was also on blood thinners, so. That concerns me very much. If she was on blood thinners, and this is her blood, we know it's her blood, that could be a minute cut or a minor impact to a lip or nose to cause bleeding can be quite dangerous. I can't put a time frame on when this blood was deposited, okay? The only way that could be done is by investigation. They're saying, hey, for those people who've been in and out of this location, when was this first seen? Did anybody notice this before this? So if you can get somebody that was in the house prior to the date of the abduction, and they could say, well, when they were in there at this date and time, I didn't see any blood present here. Other than that, there's no way to date when the blood got there. Like some of these tinier stains do have some directionality to them. But again, I would need better images of them to get a better idea of the directionality. For a second, I saw in the chat that somebody was speculating that it could have been blood that was coughed out of somebody's mouth. Now, we call that aspirated blood. And in the aspirated blood, you would see air bubbles. The aspirated blood droplets would be very tiny. There would be air bubbles, and there would be a mixture of saliva and amylase inside of that blood. And so if they had taken a sample of this, they would be able to determine that amylase is present here, so that the point of origin would have been the mouth. Okay, and I don't know, I didn't see if there was any signs that of swabbing being done. I know they took blood sample, but I just didn't see it here where they took the sample from, because they did do the DNA analysis. I didn't see if there was any signs that swabbing being done. I know they took blood sample, but I just didn't see it here where they took the sample from, because they did do the DNA analysis. They got a controlled DNA sample for her, and it was matched back to her. So this is her blood.
Yeah, the sheriff said at the press conference on Thursday that the blood did come back to Nancy. So that was confirmed. Kidnapping with blood at the front of the doorstep. So it's more than just a kidnapping. It's a kidnapping with a potential homicide. Let's call it as it is. Okay, we're investigators. We're not under any constraints here. We don't have to be afraid to talk about it. When you have blood, granted that was a small amount of blood, but you have a woman who's on blood thinners, has a pacemaker, and has limited mobility, as per her family statement. You got that blood at that scene, and God only knows what's inside that house.
This crime evolved into something else. The original crime may have been this, but it evolved into something else, because if it were a kidnapping, they're not going to try to hurt her. They're going to try to preserve her, get her out of there, take the medicine with them, because she's the prize for them. You know, she's the one that they have to give back to the family, and you're going to want to do that under controlled conditions. I think this got out of control, way out of control. And that's where we're at right now.
So Ed, what's your thoughts on the black gloves that were recovered 1.5 miles from Nancy Guthrie's home?
That's two pieces of information there, possible evidence along that route. They're going to run the DNA. You're going to do the DNA on the exterior and the interior of the gloves. And, they could find possibly Nancy's DNA on the exterior of the gloves, or a mixture of Nancy and the suspects, but definitely on the interior, possibly the suspects' DNA
so
there.
here's the investigators walking out. I have it in slow-mo. Looks like there's a measuring.
So he's got tape. He's got evidence numbers. Yeah, it looks like that yellow bag of evidence numbers. He's got a backpack. He's got a tripod. He's got lights. Looks like they might have been doing some scans for, in there. They could put up that tent and darken the area out. Maybe they did some presumptive blood work, some luminol or something like that to see if there was any latent footwear impressions that might have had a slight amount of blood on it. They could be doing infrared photography as well. Now, infrared photography can make things that are latent visible as well, that you couldn't see with the naked eye. So they could be using that for contrasting information there and finding additional blood that may be present that you couldn't see with your naked eye as well.
How quickly would the UV destroy any DNA evidence? Just talking about like
UV
sunlight coming in.
From the sun?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, if the sun can get in there now, there's multiple bandwidths of UV. So there's UVA, UVB, and UVC. And there's what we call, those are in the long range and short wave. The short wave is the most dangerous of them all. So UVC, it can cause cancer. What exposure with UVB and C can cause cancer as well. So impacting that area for prolonged periods of time between the heat, the cold, and UV exposure, there could be some degradation of the genetic materials that we would look for in blood for DNA analysis.
But now, Ed, day 12, they put this up. Is this a bit, are they a bit tardy?
Is it late? Is it late? Yes. It should have been. It should have been a part of the initial crime scene investigation in the first day of the crime scene.
And right now, Ed could attest to this. They need to get the evidence that's going to be irrefutable, no matter what, whether it was there, wasn't there. Certain evidence that's going to tie individual or individuals into this crime, no matter what, whether it was that it can only be there for one reason and one reason only.
100% correct.
If you're a police officer and you see blood at the front door, it's not just someone that just wandered off. It's someone that wandered off that's now bleeding.
A possibility of aspirated blood, or could be a possibility of blood dripping into blood. Because at some point in time, on at least two of those tiles, the victim depositing the blood was stationary. And that's why you have a lot of blood drops on like one or two specific tiles right next to each other.
We appreciate the expertise and explanation, and thank you so much for taking out all the time. All right, guys and girls, if anything develops, we will be live on it. We'll see you all soon. God bless.